My brand new Starlink Performance kit has just arrived and I'm super excited to check this thing out. This is the brand new Performance kit engineered by SpaceX. If you missed my previous video, this is the successor to the older high performance and flat high performance units. So this performance kit, this is the top dog. This is the best Starlink dish that you can buy. This is the one that Starlink says is capable of those 1 gig peak download speeds that will be available sometime in 2026. So really exciting stuff. We're going to be doing an unboxing. We're going to set it up, run a speed test, measure the power consumption, and just generally go over detail this performance kit and everything about it so that you could make an informed decision if you're interested in upgrading from your standard unit or maybe an older high performance kit. I'll let you know all the changes and everything like that. So let's just get started with the unboxing. So first of all, check this out. This is the new Starlink box design. So they previously came in like plain cardboard boxes. I don't know if this is just for the performance kit and accessories, but I ordered a couple accessories with it as well, some mounts, and they come in the same style boxes. So completely black with the cool, big white Starlink logo. So that's the first thing that I noticed, but let's go ahead and jump into the unboxing. Typical Starlink fashion, very nice unboxing design. And when you open this thing up, this is a, kind of like styrofoam protector sheet, and it's got Starlink Performance in there. So pretty cool stuff, pretty high quality for, just packaging or whatever. And then the first thing you see is the antenna itself, the dish itself. And what's great about the Performance is that this is all aluminum. This is some tough stuff, and it looks like it's powder coated, kind of like a silver or something, just a nice matte silver finish. And that's unlike the standard or the mini, which has a completely plastic case. So let's set this aside for a second because I did want to talk about the other stuff in the box before we get too in detail on the antenna itself. So here's everything that's included in the kit. You have the cable. They include a 25 meter, that's about 82 feet. This is the new Performance cable. Let's check this out real quick though, because this is one of the things that's very different from the previous generation high performance and even different than the standard. So you have a, typical Starlink RJ45 connector on one end that has the cool moisture seal things that keeps water out. On the other end though, you have a brand new proprietary Starlink connector for the dish side. So this is unique to the Performance, and this just plugs in right there. Let me take these off. So this just kind of snaps in there like that, and it actually locks. I don't know if you heard that or not. So you line up the red little lines, it locks, and then to get it out you have to twist this. So it is a locking connector. But this is one of the most interesting things about this new Performance antenna, because it has an IP69K ingress protection rating, IP rating. And what that basically means is that this thing can withstand high temperature, high pressure water jets from just about any angle. It can even be submerged up to 1 meter for 30 minutes and no damage will occur. So this thing is massively improved over the previous high performance units in terms of durability and water and dust resistance. IP69K is the highest rating on the scale right now. So that's all thanks to this connector. So if you're wondering why they chose to do this kind of weird proprietary connector, it's because they wanted it to be as waterproof as possible. And although this does provide a good ingress protection rating on like the standard and the mini, it's not as good as this right here. And as you'll find out in this kind of review, as we go over this kit more and more, you'll find out the main reason for this kit is the durability, is the toughness of this thing. Oh, I should probably mention the price for you too. I'm getting ahead of myself here. $2,000 for this kit. The Starlink Performance kit, $1,999. That's the MSRP in the United States. So a pretty expensive kit, but actually that is down in price by $500 from the previous high performance units. So it is actually a cost decrease for the top Starlink antenna, down from $2,500 to $2,000 for this kit. And it is targeted, of course, toward those more commercial and enterprise users. This is not targeted to home internet customers. So that's the cable. Talked about the connector. Just leave this in here for now. You also get some an Ethernet cable for a router connection, and then you get the power cables. You get a DC power cable. These are XT60 connectors. Forget how long this is. It doesn't say on here, but this is for connecting to a battery bank, backup battery supply, some kind of DC source, which we'll talk about here in a moment on the advanced power supply. And then you have the AC power cord. And the last thing in the kit, this is the advanced power supply. And as I'm lifting it up, this thing is heavy. This is one of the most interesting things about this kit, because Starlink has redesigned their external power supply. The high performance kits have always had an external power supply that's separate, like from the router. And this thing is it's massive and it's beefy, and it's got a lot of features that the other ones didn't have. So if we kind of take out these little waterproof ports here, these plugs, you have the AC input for the AC power cord, like I had mentioned, but you also have XT60 connector here for a DC input. So this advanced power supply accepts both AC and DC. The AC rating, let's see here, is 100 to 240 volts AC on this input. On the DC input, looks like you have 12 to 57 volts DC, maximum of 25 amps on the DC input. And what's super interesting about this advanced power supply is that it can use either one, and it can also act as kind of like a transfer switch between the two. So for example, you have a high priority installation, you need, uptime is critical. You plug this into an AC wall outlet, and you also plug it into like a backup battery system with this connector here. If your AC power ever cuts out, it'll switch over to DC and keep you up and running. So you can use it as a backup system, but you can also run this primarily on the DC power. So if you have a boat installation, if you're in a marine environment, if you're going to be installing this like in a search and rescue vehicle or something, and you want to wire it up directly to your vehicle's battery system, you can do that natively. Just take a cable, buy an adapter cable, or splice this into your battery system, and you can provide 12 to 56 volts into this DC port and power your Starlink Performance that way. Moving on, we have a couple of network ports here. So you have, these are just RJ45 connectors on both of these. One of them is to connect the performance antenna. That's the rightmost port. This is a PoE port that's going to provide, I think, upwards of 250 watts. I'll have to double check the stat on that, but this provides a lot of power to the Starlink Performance antenna. As you know, the performance antenna always uses a lot more power than the standard. And then the other one is a network port to connect your router. This is also a PoE port. This can provide up to 40 watts of power, so you can power a router directly off of this port, which is pretty cool. This comes with this wall mount thing, and it looks like, yeah, you just pull this, can separate. So here's the actual advanced power supply. This can be rack mounted, or it can be wall mounted with this right here. So you can see it's already got the screw holes. You would just screw this and then put your power supply in there, lock it down. This is fairly interesting because all of the ports are facing downward. This has a pretty high waterproof rating as well. This entire kit is just as durable as possible. And that's why you have these included plugs in case you're not using one of these ports. It prevents any kind of water intrusion in those harsher environments. And you get some hardware, regulatory notices, whatever, in the kit as well. But the main attraction here has got to be the antenna itself. It is heavy, by the way. Not as heavy as the previous generation, but the completely aluminum enclosure does make it pretty heavy. Of course, they get the usual, Starlink information instruction sheet here. But real quick, as we're taking our first looks at the antenna side, I wanted to give you kind of a comparison to the standard antenna. So if you notice, it's actually pretty similar in size. Like, you're within an inch in both the length and width of the standard Gen 3. So it's really interesting that it's not that much bigger. It's based off of the same antenna. So this is a Rev 4 V4 antenna base, and it's got some Go away, bug. It's got some extra, like it's got an extra heater unit in here. It's got some additional capabilities as far as the radio spectrum that it can use, and that's one of the major reasons why this is going to be the first antenna that's capable of those 1 gig download speeds. But the antenna itself, you can notice right here, the aluminum enclosure extends all the way from the back and rounds over to the edge. It's part of the reason why this is wider than the standard unit by just a little bit. But you also have this kind of unique looking antenna surface. I think this is definitely more durable than the standard unit for sure. It looks like it. You see I've got a ton of these like little rock chips and things like that from just general handling of this. This is my Roam dish, so I beat it up quite a bit. This should be able to withstand a lot more abuse. This is a super durable kit, and that's really the primary purpose of buying the Performance. On the back here, you may have noticed these threaded inserts for all your mounting solutions. So again, durability, strength, that's what the Performance is all about, and that extends to the mounts as well. So just to give you an example, I ordered a couple of mounts. When you order this, you get a choice of like a free mount. I chose this little wedge mount here, but I also got the pipe adapter just so I could set it up on more of a temporary stand for some of my testing. But this is all aluminum too, same finish and everything. So everything's designed to be super durable, and everything is going to screw into the bottom of the Performance. So cool stuff there. That means that third-party companies are going to be able to come out with a lot of different mounting solutions for this, and you're also going to be able to do a lot more custom mounts because you have these threaded inserts that you can attach to just about anything. Also just noticed on the bottom here you have these little, I think these are drain holes, because if you flip the antenna over, what I kind of noticed was that there's a little tiny gap. Hopefully you can see that on camera. There's a little tiny gap between the antenna and the aluminum enclosure. And when the antenna is sitting, at its 8 or 9 degree angle, I forget what it is on most of the mounts, but if rain hits this and runs off, it's just going to run down in between these gaps. It's going to go behind, and it's going to be able to drain out of these little holes right here. And it doesn't look like there's any on top, but you wouldn't expect there to be if it's, at an angle like this. So that's the antenna. You may have noticed there's no router included in this kit, and that's because the high performance kits traditionally have not included a router, Starlink router, and that's the same with the Performance kit. It does not include a Starlink router. Most business customers are not going to want to use a Starlink router. They're going to already have their own gateway, firewall, router system, so they're just going to hook up to it with this cable right here. But if you want a Starlink router for whatever reason with your Performance kit, you can get one for free. Starlink will send you one for free. You just check a box during checkout. So let's get this Performance unit set up, and I'm just going to be setting it up temporarily in my yard just to run the initial speed test and measure the power consumption, things like that. And I'm going to be doing that with one of these, standard X-frame bases. You guys always ask me about this. This is just the X-frame base from a Gen 2 Starlink. The pipe here, the mast, is from an Starlink accessory called the standard to standard actuated adapter. So that gives you this mast that has the ability to lock into any Gen 2 mount. And then at the end here, it's just a plain pipe. So I'm going to be able to use this Performance pipe adapter that I bought with my Performance kit to be able to just set it on there temporarily. But I also just figured out you have to install the cable before you can actually install this. So that's why I'm recording right now. I'm not doing this off camera because I wanted to show you the initial cable connection. You have to make it, I've already showed that, really simple. You just literally snap it in place, it locks, it's not going anywhere. That's all there is to it on the dish end. With the cable installed, now I can install my pipe adapter. It's got this channel that the cable sits in, if I flip it the right way, and it just goes on there like that. And then I need to take the hardware kit. Comes with these 4 screws. Again, everything is super heavy duty, super durable in this Performance kit. Unlike the standard, which everything is plastic, it's meant for more residential usage. So I'm just going to tighten these down. Okay, with the pipe adapter installed, now I can take this little X-frame base and install the pipe adapter. Just sits down like that. Typical Starlink pipe adapter stuff. You just have to tighten down these bolts now. And now it's installed. Now we can set this thing up in the yard. So like I mentioned, I'm just setting this out in the middle of my yard, making sure that it's free from obstructions. The performance antenna does have a wider field of view than the standard. So this has a 140-degree field of view versus 110 degrees for the standard and the mini. That gives this Starlink a more complete view of the sky. It's able to find more satellites, so it should theoretically deal with maybe obstructions better. And that's especially useful in motion applications. That wider field of view gives you more view of the sky if you're mounting this to the top of the vehicle, which is always changing directions. Okay, cable is run from my yard. The 82 feet was perfect for this test. Let's go ahead and plug it into the advanced power supply. Like I mentioned, the antenna port is on the right here, the one on the right. So it looks like tab up, and that just inserts right into it like that. And next up we have our power cord. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in. I'm just testing AC power in this video. If you want to learn more about this advanced power supply, I'm going to be doing a separate review just for the advanced power supply, specifically using it with the standard kit. So that's another really interesting thing about the advanced power supply, is that they've made it compatible with the standard kit. And that allows you to basically eliminate the Starlink router, the Gen 3 router, altogether from your standard kit. Let's set that to watts. There we go. Okay, so now it's booting up. You see I've got a status LED on the power supply. The last thing we need on our system is a router so that we can communicate via Wi-Fi to this dish. So I don't have a third-party router that I want to use with this, and I want to test out something that is listed as a feature for the Starlink Gen 3 router. So if you buy, or I guess you can get it for free actually with your performance order, you can get this Gen 3 router. It's called the Performance version of it, the Performance Kit version of it. It comes with this cable that you already get with the Performance Kit. It just is an RJ45 connector to the Starlink connector here. That allows you to plug in a Gen 3 router to the antenna port. That's the WAN port. And apparently, since this is a PoE output on this network port, this should be able to power the Gen 3 router without a separate power supply, because with that Gen 3 router performance kit, you don't actually get the AC wall adapter. So let's try that out. If you order the actual like Gen 3 performance router, this is the cable that it comes with, which it has both ends are this Starlink oval connector thing. So let's try this out instead. See if we can get this to work over PoE. Before we get too far into this Starlink performance review, I did want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, which is Starpax. Starpax makes a range of travel cases for just about every Starlink dish. I've got one here for my Starlink Mini. They are a Pelican style hard shell case. They're durable, they're IP67 waterproof rated. They are meant for the toughest of environments, and that's why Starpax has an impressive client list, including militaries, police forces, search and rescue all over the world. They have a custom EVA foam insert for protecting all of your Starlink gear. So you can see here I have my Mini, I have a battery bank, I have all my cables and accessories that I need, all tucked away neatly in this custom foam design. I really like this more than my Pelican case that I've had on this channel previously. I think the exterior texture is nicer, the latch design is better, and overall this just feels like a premium case for a lower price than what I paid for my Pelican. Starpax cases are available in black or yellow. I like this matte black finish right here. If you're interested in checking out Starpax to get a travel case to protect your Starlink, you can check them out at starlinktravelcase.com. I'll also leave a link in the description below. So thank you to Starpax for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. All right, so what I learned here is that this is actually powered on via PoE. There's no indicator light here, so it means the indicator light is not working, but I've got this plugged in to the WAN port, the dish port of the Gen 3 router, from the PoE port, network port on the advanced power supply, and it's working. It's booted up. I can see the Wi-Fi network here, so let's go ahead and connect to it and set up our Starlink. So it is installing an update now for the performance antenna, but we can go ahead and set up our Wi-Fi network. I'll just name it Performance and put in a super secure password of 1234567 8. Submit, we'll let that reboot, and we'll connect and we'll run some speed tests. Okay, so it looks like we're online, we're connected. I am not obstructed. I have alignment. It's been on for 15 or 20 minutes. I've let it download a software update. It's updated, it's rebooted, so everything's up to date. It's not obstructed. It's stabilized in here. So before we run the speed test though, I do want to check out power consumption, because I know that's going to be a big question for you guys. And I've had it hooked up to this little watt meter thing here since the beginning. And I'm noticing as everything is stabilized out, it's running between 50 and 65 watts. Starlink says that the performance should average anywhere between 75 and 100 watts, whereas the standard Gen 3 dish is anywhere from like 50 to 75 watts. And I'm seeing that here. I'm noticing a slightly higher power consumption from the performance compared to my standard. It's hovering usually around 60 to 65 watts right now. It's jumped up to 70 watts a couple times. When I first booted it up, it definitely spiked up there. I think, I don't remember the exact spec, but this thing can do well over 200 watts if you're doing the snow melt, like if it's snowing heavily or raining and the signal's trying to get through, it can spike up well above, the standard in terms of the overall power availability. But now let's get to the fun part. Let's run some speed tests on this thing, figure out just how fast this is. So Starlink says that this is the 1 gigabit per second dish. This is the first hardware that they're offering that would be compatible with those higher speeds that will be enabled next year, sometime in 2026. But I wanted to talk about that for a second, because that's really kind of a dependent on Starlink deploying their V3 satellites. So right now, at this current time, nobody's going to get 1 gig speeds on the Starlink network, even with the performance antenna. So if you're thinking about upgrading to the performance for those gig speeds, you're going to be disappointed. It's not available right now. All indications from Starlink are that the 1 gig performance will be unlocked in remote areas, which means like non-congested areas, non-populated areas, with a service plan upgrade, and that's going to be for a business plan. That's what I have this Starlink on right now. I have it on a local priority service plan. That's the higher tier data compared to residential. So let's run a speed test and just see what we can get out of this performance dish. Now, I always say this, but I have to kind of remind you that the speed test, when you open it by default through the app, this is running a speed test from the router to the Starlink satellite, or from the router through the system to the Starlink satellites. This is not over Wi-Fi. So there's no Wi-Fi variable here whatsoever, even though my phone is receiving the result through the app over Wi-Fi. And we're getting around 288, going down a little bit, hovering around, there you go, 287 megabits per second down, and 40, 41, let's wait for it to finish here. 40 megabits per second down, 25 milliseconds of latency. So 287 down, 40 up is honestly fairly average. Let's just run that again. Let's run it a few times. And the second speed test results in 325 down, 31 up, 27 milliseconds latency. Let's run it one more time. And this is the kind of the middle of the day. It's a weekday, so outside of peak hours, you wouldn't expect to be bogged down by congestion, especially in my area. I will tell you, based on these speeds, this is not any higher than what I can get with my standard residential unit. So it's the standard Gen 3 dish. It's mounted on the roof of my house. It's on the residential plan, which has lower priority. It's supposed to be lower speeds than the local priority plan. And we're getting roughly kind of the same speeds. I'll show you a speed test for that in a minute. So final test here, 361 down, 32 up, 21 milliseconds latency. So I switched over to my standard Gen 3 unit. This is my home unit that's mounted on my roof. It's on the residential plan. And I want to run a speed test just to do a quick comparison, because we're going to find out if the performance is actually any faster than the standard at this current time. And the first test of the standard came in at 333 down, 18 up, 24 milliseconds of latency. So it had roughly the same download speed, but higher upload speed on the performance and similar latency as well. Let's run a second test here. Second test comes back as 265 megabits per second down, 21 up, 25 milliseconds of latency. Let's run one more. It looks like this one's going to be the best yet for the standard dish. Remember, this is for the standard Gen 3 on the residential plan, and I got 378 megabits per second down. I'm getting 40, let's wait for the final number here, 39 megabits per second up and 20 milliseconds of latency. So interestingly, and I think a big takeaway from this video that I want you to kind of be aware of is that I got faster peak download speeds on the standard dish on the residential plan than I did with the brand new Starlink Performance on the higher priority local priority service plan. It's capable of similar upload speeds, it's capable of similar latency, so really no, as far as peak download speeds and internet performance for a single device connection, no real difference there. So if the brand new Starlink Performance isn't really any faster upload speeds or download speeds or even latency than the standard dish, then what's the point? Who is this actually for? Well, I touched on it in the beginning of the video, but really the key with this performance dish is the durability. That aluminum enclosure, the IP67K ingress protection rating, IP rating, the durability of this thing is really why you're paying $2,000 for it. This thing has a much wider operating temperature range, so it's available to be used in a lot harsher environments than the standard. Basically, this is a step up in every way in terms of construction, quality, and durability over the standard, but it's not necessarily any faster. And even though Starlink advertises this as kind of the first 1 gig capable Starlink antenna, as you can see here today, the Starlink network is really what's limiting performance for customers at this current time. If I can get the same speeds on my residential plan and my standard dish as this performance antenna with the local priority service plan, then you're really going to be disappointed if you go to upgrade and spend all this money to try to get those faster speeds. That's really not the point of the performance antenna. Who it's really for is going to be, think about like those marine customers that are worried about all the saltwater spray, all the harsh environments that those things go through as far as wind and temperature and all those things. If you're a marine customer, if you're search and rescue, you're mounting this thing to the top of like one of your vehicles. Maybe you're like one of those off-road race vehicles. This thing has superior vibration resistance, superior temperature range, superior durability and reliability, and that wider field of view, 140 degrees versus 110, definitely helps you out there as well. So for that $2,000, you're paying for a unit that's going to last you 10 years. This has a longer warranty. Starlink says it's designed for the long haul. And you're also future-proofing yourself a little bit too, because even though right now the standard and the performance are capable of similar speeds, this, according to Starlink at least, should be capable of future speeds, those 1 gigabit per second plus speeds that Starlink is advertising for 2026. That means if you buy this performance unit now, you won't have to upgrade your hardware to get those future higher speeds on the Starlink network. If you currently have the high performance or the flat high performance unit from Starlink and you're thinking about upgrading, I've got good news for you there as well. So one other interesting thing about this Starlink cable on the new performance kit is that if you have an existing high performance or flat high performance installation, Starlink's going to start selling an accessory later this year that's called the field termination kit. And what it allows you to do is use your existing Starlink high performance cable run, and you'll just buy this kit that is able to convert the end of it to the same end that this new performance kit uses. So you'll be able to use the same cable that you already have run, which in many professional installations, the cable routing is the most expensive part. So that's good news. That's going to allow commercial customers that already have the older high performance kits, that's going to allow them to upgrade at a much cheaper cost and get this much more durable kit. It's got a much better environmental IP rating than the previous high performance unit. So if you already have a high performance kit, this is, I think, a worthy upgrade just for the increased durability and the long-term future proofing that you'll get as far as Starlink download speeds go. If you're a residential customer, if you're a home internet user, even a power user, I don't think this is worthy of an upgrade from your standard unit right now. It's just way too expensive for the kind of performance that you can get out of it, at least right now, because those the Starlink network is your limiting factor, not the hardware at this time. So I'd love to know what you think about the Starlink Performance antenna. And if you have any ideas on what you'd like to see me do with this performance dish in future videos, let me know in the comments below. I already have a bunch of ideas Like I said, I'm going to be making that advanced power supply review for the standard dish. I'm also thinking about doing a head-to-head comparison, kind of a more in-depth speed test comparison between the Performance and the standard and the mini, just to see where we're at in 2025. So make sure you like this video if you're interested in seeing that. Leave me a comment down below as well. Thank you for watching. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss any new updates from this channel. Thanks for watching, appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.